You will know that this is common. You've just promoted your best salesperson to sales manager, or your most talented engineer to engineering lead. 6 months later, the team is struggling, your star performer is drowning, and you're wondering what went wrong. This isn't a failure of talent, it's a failure of preparation. Research from the Chartered Management Institute reveals that 82% of UK managers receive zero formal training before being put in charge of people. Globally, Gallup found that companies pick the wrong person for management roles 82% of the time, not because they lack potential, but because we promote based on individual performance rather than management capability. And here's the uncomfortable reality. Only 1 in 10 people has natural management talent. Another 2 in 10 can become excellent with proper development. That means that 70% of people promoted into management will struggle unless we equip them with the right frameworks and capabilities. If you're a leader trying to speed up growth, your middle managers are critical infrastructure. They translate your strategy into team-level action. They develop the talent that executes your plans. They're the layer that makes or breaks your ability to move faster than the competition. Poor management costs UK employers $84 billion annually in lost productivity. But here's what's possible when managers get it right. Gallup's research shows that manager quality accounts for 70% of variance in team engagement, which directly correlates with productivity, retention, and results. A quick note on format. What you're hearing is a synthesis of experts' published research and frameworks. We have worked to represent their ideas accurately whilst translating them to your specific context, that is, a CEO trying to build the organisational capabilities that enable growth. Today we're examining what great managers actually do differently. We'll hear from Marcus Buckingham, whose research with Gallup analysed thousands of managers to identify what separates great managers from the average. Andy Grove, former Intel CEO who wrote the definitive practitioner's guide to management leverage, and Liz Wiseman, who studied how some managers multiply their team's intelligence whilst others diminish it. Here's Marcus Buckingham's perspective, read by me, Colette Eastham. Buckingham's research at Gallup, examining thousands of managers across industries, revealed something counterintuitive. Great managers break the rules of conventional management wisdom. Rather than treating people identically in the name of fairness, they individualise relentlessly. Rather than focusing on fixing weakness, they amplify strengths. The research identified a core insight. People don't change that much. Don't waste time trying to put in what wasn't left out. Try to draw out what was left in, and that's hard. Great managers accept this reality and work with it rather than against it. Buckingham argues that great managers focus on outcome, not activity. They don't prescribe the steps, they're crystal clear about the destination and let the talented people find their own path. A great sales manager doesn't mandate the same call script for everybody. They define the revenue target, the customer experience standard, and then study how each top performer achieves it differently. They help each person refine their unique approach rather than forcing conformity. The research revealed that great managers spend most time with their best people, which contradicts conventional wisdom. Most managers spend disproportionate time trying to fix low performers. Great managers invest their time where it yields the highest return, developing stars into superstars. According to Buckingham's data, this isn't about ignoring struggling team members. It's about resource allocation and leverage. An hour spent helping your best performer to get 10% better delivers more value than an hour trying to move a poor fit from failing to mediocre. Buckingham emphasises that great managers select for talent, not just experience, intelligence, or determination. Talent in his framework means recurring patterns of thought, feeling, or behaviour that can be productively applied. It's not what people can learn to do, it's what they can't help but do. A great manager hiring for sales looks beyond the CV to identify whether someone has a natural talent for relationship building, whether they're energised by rejection or destroyed by it, and whether they can think in terms of emotional dynamics or logical steps. The Gallup research identified 12 questions that predict team engagement and performance. Great managers can ensure they answer yes to these for each team member. These are: do they know what's expected of them at work? Do they have the materials and equipment they need? Do they get to do what they do best every day? Has someone recognised their good work in the last 7 days? Does their manager care about them as a person? Is there someone encouraging their development? Buckingham found that great managers don't rely on the organisation to answer these questions. They take personal responsibility for creating the conditions where each person can excel. They have different conversations with different people because each person needs different things. One person needs daily recognition, another finds frequent praise patronising and prefers quarterly strategic discussion about their career. According to the research, great managers define outcomes, not method. They're specific about what the team needs to deliver, revenue targets, customer satisfaction scores, and project deadlines, but flexible on how individuals achieve them. Buckingham observed that micromanagement stems from insecurity. Managers who lack confidence in their team's talent try to control the process. Great managers select talented people, ensure they understand the outcome, provide the resources and support that they need, and then get out of the way. The data showed that great managers are relationship multipliers. They don't just have relationships with their direct reports, they help their people build relationships across the organisation. They make introductions, they create visibility for their team's work, they advocate for resource and opportunity. When someone on their team succeeds, everyone knows about it. When someone needs development, they find the right person in the organisation to help. Buckingham's research revealed that great managers create a culture of performance by celebrating wins and learning from losses without blame. They make performance visible, not to shame low performers, but to help everyone understand what great looks like. They share stories of how different team members solve problems. They create space for people to learn from each other's approaches. The fundamental insight from Buckingham's research: management isn't about treating everyone the same. It's about treating everyone individually while holding everyone to the same high standard. It's about understanding that fair doesn't mean identical. It means giving each person what they need to excel. Buckingham's research challenges a deeply ingrained assumption that good management means treating everyone identically. His data suggests the opposite, that individualisation, not standardisation, predicts performance. This creates a practical tension for CEOs trying to build scalable systems. How do you maintain standards whilst allowing managers to adapt their approach to each person? The answer lies in his distinction between outcome and method. You standardise what must be consistent, the results, the quality standards, the values, but you allow flexibility in how talented individuals achieve them. This requires hiring managers who can think in terms of individual talent rather than generic processes. His insight about investing time where it yields the highest return is particularly relevant when you're trying to speed up growth. You don't have unlimited management capacity. Deploy it where it creates the most value. Here's Andy Grove's perspectives. Grove approaches management as an engineer approaches systems. What creates leverage? How do you multiply output without proportionally multiplying effort? His framework, developed while scaling Intel from startup to global semiconductor leader, treats management as the art of increasing the output of the organisation. According to Grove's analysis, a manager's output is the output of their organisation plus the output of neighbouring organisations under their influence. This shifts the question from what did I personally accomplish today to what did my decisions and actions enable others to accomplish? A manager who spends 3 hours in meetings might feel unproductive until they realise that those meetings enabled 30 people to execute more effectively. Grove argues that managers have essentially 3 activities: information gathering, information giving, and decision making. Everything else is a variant of these 3. Great managers optimise how they perform. For information gathering, Grove emphasises that managers need both formal and informal channels. Formal channels are structured, reports, metrics, dashboards, business reviews. Informal channels are conversations, hallway discussions, lunch with team members, and attending team meetings as an observer. Grove contends that most managers over-rely on formal information, which arrives filtered and delayed. So, by the time the dashboard shows a problem, it's already serious. Informal channels provide those early signals, such as the engineer who mentions in passing that a dependency is blocking progress, or the subtle shift in team energy during a stand-up. Grove's decision-making framework distinguishes between those 2 types, those that require your personal involvement and those that should be delegated. The key question? Who has the best information to make this decision? Not who has the authority, but who has context. If someone 3 levels down has a direct customer feedback and technical knowledge, they should make the call. If the decision affects multiple teams and requires cross-functional trade-offs, then it needs to be escalated. According to Grove, that one-on-one meeting is a manager's highest leverage activity. He recommends a specific structure, a prepared agenda from the team member, their concerns, their blockers, progress updates on key work, and discussion of one medium-term issue. Grove argues that the meeting should be the subordinates' meeting. It's their agenda, their time, their opportunity to surface issues before they become crisis. The manager's role is to listen, ask questions that expose underlying problems, provide context from across the organisation, and help remove obstacles. Grove's concept of managerial leverage extends to meetings broadly. He classifies them into two types: process-oriented, one-on-ones, staff meetings, operation reviews, and mission-oriented, solving a specific problem or making a specific decision. Process-oriented meetings should be regular, structured, same time, same agenda, minimal variation on format. This creates efficiency. OKR check-ins are a great example of this. Mission-oriented meetings should be irregular, assembled as required, and disbanded once complete. For performance management, Grove advocates continuous feedback rather than annual events. He argues that the annual performance review are so infrequent to drive behaviour change. People need to know immediately when they're off track and when they're excelling. Grove's model: task-relevant feedback loops. If someone is learning a new skill, they need daily feedback. If they're experienced and autonomous, weekly or monthly will suffice. Grove introduces the concept of task-relevant maturity. How you manage someone depends on their experience with that specific task, not their general competence. A brilliant engineer learning to lead their first project needs close supervision and frequent check-ins. The same engineer designing a circuit in their area of expertise need minimal insight. Great managers adjust their style to task-relevant maturity. According to Grove's analysis, training is another high-leverage activity. When a manager trains their team, they multiply their own capabilities. If you can teach 5 people to do something that you currently do alone, you've increased output 5-fold without hiring anybody. Grove contends that most managers underinvest in training because it feels like a distraction from real work. But real work is building organisational capability. Grove emphasises that performance problems should be addressed immediately. His framework: if someone isn't performing, you have 3 options. First, they lack the skills that require training. Second, they lack motivation, which requires understanding what's blocking that engagement. Third, they're in the wrong role, which requires an honest conversation and potentially moving them to a better fit. His approach to team meetings focuses on efficiency. He advocates for standing meetings where decisions get made rapidly. He suggests that if a meeting involves more than 6 people, it's potentially too large to make decisions effectively. It's information sharing, not decision making. Decision meetings should be small, the minimum number of people needed in the room. Grove argues that great managers create operating systems, repeatable rhythms, and processes that enable the teams in its operating system. Weekly one-on-ones create space for early problem detection. Monthly business reviews create accountability without micromanagement. And quarterly planning ensures alignment without rigidity. These systems compound over time. The more consistent the rhythm, the more efficient the execution. The fundamental insight from Grove's experience: management is about leverage. Everything a manager does should be evaluated on its multiplier effect. Does this activity enable others to produce more? If not, question whether it belongs on your calendar. Grove's engineering mindset reveals management as a system of levers and multipliers. His framework helps answer a critical question for growth-focused leaders. Where should your managers spend their time? The answer? On activities with the highest leverage, one-on-ones that prevent small problems from becoming big ones, training that multiplies capability, operating rhythms that create execution efficiency. His concept of task-relevant maturity solves a practical challenge. You can't manage everyone the same way, but you also can't create endless unique management approaches. The variable is experience with the specific task, and this gives managers a clear decision rule. What's particularly valuable for companies trying to speed up growth? Grove's emphasis on operating systems. When growth has stalled, it's often because the informal systems that worked at a smaller scale have broken down. Using frameworks like OKRs, measuring what matters, and building review rituals, and having consistent one-on-ones all create an infrastructure for growth. Here's Liz Wiseman's perspective. Wiseman's research examined a compelling question. Why do some leaders drain intelligence and capability from their teams whilst others amplify it? Her study of over 150 leaders identified two distinct types: multipliers who make their people smarter and more capable, and diminishers who reduce their team's effectiveness even when they don't intend to. According to Wiseman's findings, multipliers get more than twice the capability from their people than diminishers do. And this isn't about working people harder, it's about accessing discretionary intelligence and effort. Diminishers might get 50% of people's capabilities. Multipliers get closer to 100. That difference compounds dramatically across teams and over time. Wiseman argues that diminishers often have good intention. They're typically smart, driven leaders who have achieved success through their own intelligence. The problem? They assume their job is to be the smartest person in the room, to have answers, to solve the problems. And this creates a dependency cycle. The team waits for direction. They don't develop their own problem-solving capabilities. They become cautious about making decisions without approval. The research identified 5 disciplines where multipliers operate differently. First, multipliers are talent magnets rather than empire builders. Empire builders hoard resource and underutilise talent, and they keep people in narrow roles. They are threatened by talented individuals who may well overshadow them. Talent magnets attract talent and develop it, even if it means that people eventually leave for bigger opportunities. Wiseman observed that talent magnets talk about my players moving to great opportunities, whilst empire builders talk about my people who need them. Talent magnets look for talent everywhere, including unexpected places. They see capabilities that others miss. They ask, what is this person's native genius? Native genius in Wiseman's framework is what someone does better than anything else, with less effort than others require, and it energizes them. Multipliers amplify native genius by putting people in roles where it matters. Second, multipliers are liberators rather than tyrants. Tyrants create anxiety that suppresses thinking. People in tyrannical environments spend energy managing up, avoiding mistakes, and staying safe. Liberators create space for people to think, debate, and make mistakes whilst maintaining high standards. Wiseman found that liberators demand people's best work, but create a sense of psychological safety that allows experimentation. Liberators give space for people to act. They're comfortable with silence in meetings. They don't fill every pause with their own ideas. They ask questions rather than providing answers. They make mistakes visible, including their own, which gives others permission to take risk. Third, multipliers are challengers rather than know-it-alls. A know-it-all needs to demonstrate their intelligence, so they give directive. They tell people what to do and how to do it. Challengers seed opportunity. They ask hard questions that force the team to think differently. What if we approach this from the customer's perspective instead of our operational perspective? What would need to be true for this to work? According to Wiseman's research, challengers don't hide difficulty. They're honest about how hard the challenge is, which paradoxically increases that team engagement. Difficult challenges attract talented people. Wiseman observed that challengers say things like, I don't know if this is possible, but I believe that this team can figure it out. They create what she calls concrete challenges, specific, understandable, consequential problems that require the team's best thinking. Fourth, multipliers are debate makers as opposed to decision makers. Decision makers pride themselves on making quick calls. They gather minimal input, decide, and move on. This can feel efficient, but it bypasses the collective intelligence. Debate makers create rigorous debate before decision. They ask who has the relevant information. They ensure that all perspectives are heard, including the dissenting views. They make space for intellectual tension. Wiseman found that debate makers follow a specific process: frame the issue, spark the debate, drive sound decisions. Framing means defining the decision early. What are we deciding? What are the constraints? And who will make the final call? Sparking means creating conditions for real debate, diverse perspectives, evidence-based arguments, and challenge without personal attack. Driving means synthesizing the debate into a clear decision and communicating the reason. Fifth, multipliers are investors rather than micromanagers. Micromanagers stay involved in the detail, create dependency, and slow down decisioning. Investors give ownership and let people lead their domain. They teach, they provide resource, and they hold people accountable for the results, but they don't dictate the path. Wiseman argues that investors follow a principle: give 51% of the vote to the person doing the work. They might give input or challenge assumption, but the final call belongs to whoever owns the work. And this creates accountability. And when people own decisions, they are invested in the outcome. The research revealed that many diminishers are accidental diminishers. They don't intend to reduce capability, but their behaviour has that effect. The common patterns are idea guy, leaders who generate so many ideas that the team can't execute on them all. Overwhelmed by choice. The always-on leader who fills the space in conversation, making it hard for others to contribute. Rescuer leaders who jump in to solve problems when teams are struggling, preventing the team from developing their own problem-solving capability. According to Wiseman, becoming a multiplier requires awareness of these patterns and deliberate behaviour change. One powerful practice: extreme questions. Instead of solving problems, ask extreme questions that make people think. What would need to be true for this project to succeed beyond our expectations? What would solving this problem enable us to do next? Wiseman's research showed that multipliers create independence by making themselves less, not more, needed. They build capability that outlasts their direct involvement. They develop leaders, not followers. The fundamental insight from Wiseman's work: intelligence and capabilities are not fixed assets to be hoarded. They're expandable resources that grow when accessed. The manager who tries to be the smartest person in the room creates a ceiling. The manager who makes everyone around them smarter creates exponential growth. 3 frameworks, one underlying principle: great management is about multiplication, not addition. Buckingham's research reveals that multiplication happens through individualisation, understanding each person's unique strengths and creating the conditions where those strengths drive performance. Growth's framework shows that multiplication happens through leverage, one-on-ones that prevent crisis, training that builds capability, and operating systems that create execution efficiency. And Wiseman's work demonstrates that multiplication happens through liberation, giving people ownership, creating space for thinking, and accessing discretionary intelligence. Notice where these perspectives converge. Great managers don't try to be the hero with all of the answers or solve all of the problems. They create conditions where talented people can excel. They build capability that compounds over time. And this has direct implication for driving growth. If growth has plateaued, examine your management layer. Are managers multipliers or diminishers? Are they investing time in the high leverage activity or drowning in low leverage work? Have they built operating systems that scale, or are they fighting daily fires? The research is unambiguous. Manager quality is the single greatest predictor of team performance, which in turn predicts organisational performance. Companies that invest in developing managers see measurable returns, improved engagement, reduced turnover, faster execution, and better innovation. So here's a simple diagnostic framework that you can use this week. Map your managers against Wiseman's 5 dimensions. Are they talent magnets or empire builders? Liberators or tyrants? Challengers or know-it-alls? Debate makers or decision makers? Investors or micromanagers? You'll quickly identify who needs development and in which specific area. Audit manager time allocation using Grove's leverage lens. What percentage of time goes to high leverage activities, one-on-ones, training, decision-making versus low leverage work that should be delegated or even eliminated? If managers are drowning in operational work, they can't do the strategic work that drives growth. Assess whether managers are working with Buckingham's principles. Do they know each person's strength? Are they individualising their approach while maintaining standards? Or are they applying a one-size-fits-all management that underutilises talent? The uncomfortable reality is most of your managers were never trained to manage. They were promoted because they excelled as individual contributors and then expected to figure management out through trial and error. And this is expensive. Every quarter spent with untrained managers is a quarter of organisational capacity wasted. The opportunity? Management capability is developable. The frameworks we explored today, Buckingham's strengths-based individualisation, Grove's leverage-focused systems, and Wiseman's multiply disciplines can be taught, practiced, and mastered. One question to consider. If a great manager creates a 2 times performance difference and manager quality determines 70% of team engagement, what's the ROI of investing in management development? For most organisations, it's the highest return investment that is available. The companies that achieve high levels of growth don't just fix strategy or reorganise teams. They develop management capabilities to execute strategy and build effective teams. That's the real growth catalyst. If you want to invest in your managers, the Zockery High Performing Middle Management Programme may be for you. It combines research like we've just covered, real-world experience from practitioners leading at scale, the modern challenges, OKRs, metrics, neurodiversity, psychological safety. It's an efficient design. It's 8 weeks, not 12 months. And there are proven frameworks that work. Inside a couple of months, we can teach managers everything they should have been taught before being promoted, but compressed, focused, and immediately applicable.